Hello, and welcome to another fully live Friday episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Cody Kinsey. I'm a security researcher at Varonis, and today we have our favorite space chick. I'm so sorry, you guys. We've got Michael, the cryptozoologist, again.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, Stefan is off protecting himself from the pandemic, so we cannot have him on the stream today. So instead, if you have any Bigfoot-related questions, we do have Michael representing the cryptozoology community.
Hey, again, being speciest, it's not just Bigfoot.
But if you had a question about Bigfoot, it would fall under your
This
domain.
is a true statement.
Right. I'm learning to be sensitive.
Okay.
So, all right, guys. So we're going to go through some of the best resources I found this week, some of the InfoSec happenings, and also talk about just a little bit about what it's like to be a content creator making hacking stuff. I produced a TikTok video that got over 200,000 views in 2 days, but also got 2 pieces of our content taken down and a community violation, so we can't upload anything new for multiple days. So we'll tell you how I did that by apparently anonymously roasting my dentist. So first up, in honor of our missing host, I want to point out a great resource for anybody who wants to take the Wi-Fi hacking tutorials that we've done and take it to the next level by also taking on 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi hacking. Now, Michael, why would this be important to learn about if you want to get into Wi-Fi hacking?
You mean just 5 gigahertz?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say because it's becoming more and more prevalent. Like 2.4 gigahertz certainly still exists, but majority of it's going to be like Wi-Fi devices and other slow speed devices. A lot of phones now will be using 5 gigahertz because it's faster for the most part.
Yeah, there's a couple of developments that make this really important for you to learn about if you're going to get into Wi-Fi hacking. So the first one is the behavior of client devices like cell phones or laptops has changed. So nowadays, it's being kind of updated so that when a Wi-Fi router produces both a 5 gigahertz network and a 2.4 gigahertz network, your device will see it as the exact same thing and preferentially connect to one or the other depending on the signal strength. Now, what does that mean for a hacker? Well, let's say that I have a Wi-Fi Deauthor running on this little D1 Mini, and I feel really cool because I can kick them off of their 2.4 gigahertz network. Well, their device is just going to automatically switch over to the 5 gigahertz network. And because this little device doesn't support 5 gigahertz, it's going to be outside your ability to interact with. So it's suddenly going to go from something you can mess with to off on another network, or it might just automatically connect to the 5 gigahertz network. Now, a problem is if you're doing this sort of security research, sometimes the device doesn't even let you choose anymore. It will automatically choose for you. So this is the circumstance. You have 2 different actual networks that are being projected, a 5 gigahertz network and a 2.4 gigahertz network from your router. And then you have a client device which will randomly pick between them. But 50% of those networks you cannot access or attack using this little microcontroller. So 5 gigahertz is increasingly complicating hackers' ability to mess with devices, because as soon as it migrates automatically over to a 5 gigahertz network, it's outside your range. Well, if you want to learn how to do this, then go ahead and check out our good friend Stefan's YouTube video. So he's been putting out more and more videos.
You guys just
He's so frustrated too. Everybody's just like, when are you adding like a 5 gigahertz support to this 2.4 gigahertz only microcontroller? It's like hackers can do a lot, but they can't create a 5 gigahertz antenna and receiver just with like software alone. It does require extra hardware that this little microcontroller doesn't have. So Stefan went through and showed how exactly you can make a 5 gigahertz Deauthor using a Raspberry Pi. So I would have gone a slightly different route, and I would have used a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus. Then again, I haven't done this in a while, but a Raspberry Pi that supports 5 gigahertz is a little bit older. It's not the new Raspberry Pi 4. And I found that these usually support 5 gigahertz and they allow you to do most of the Wi-Fi hacking stuff. Although Stefan reported that when he tried it, he had issues doing some packet injection and monitor mode stuff. However, this is a really good guide if you want to learn how to, he even chaptered it.
Fancy.
What a nice person. Yeah, so like all the resources are here. Stefan organized it very nice. So if you've ever wanted to get into doing it, he even goes through selecting a good wireless network adapter because he found that the one he initially was using isn't available anymore and had to find a good alternative. So yeah, this is a great resource for anybody who wants to dive more into Wi-Fi hacking, or maybe you have run up against the problem where the device that you're practicing on will automatically switch to a 5 gigahertz spectrum. And with at least with this, you can kick them off the 5 gigahertz network and put them back on the 2.4 gigahertz network where you can mess with them using low-cost tools. So
you want to drop that link in the chat?
yeah, I absolutely will. But yeah, so you should definitely subscribe, I would say, to Stefan's channel. You can do so at Spacehoon on YouTube. And I think that you will like his content because it's a lot of stuff that we collaborate on. So
yeah, and then also I was going to ask, isn't there like a third band of Wi-Fi now? 6 gigahertz? I think it's used like as backhaul between mesh routers.
I don't have one of those.
Okay,
so.
okay. It'll be interesting seeing people like starting hacking those because I think that's like the newest addition. But anyway, did you drop that link?
I am about to. Let's see.
Cool.
Yep. So you can find the link to the 5 gigahertz YouTube video in the chat, but also you can go ahead and just like follow me on Twitter because I retweeted there as well.
Yeah.
Okay. I also wanted to mention there's something new and interesting coming up. I've just gotten permission to share this just once. So Stefan and I have been collaborating on a new thing that's like power armor for this little D1 Mini. It's like if you could imagine just taking this little D1 Mini and just like putting it into like a mech suit to make it like suddenly make it way more useful. We had an inspiration on an existing design, but this is something original that Stefan has created based on my urging and our collaboration towards something that hopefully we can release around DEF CON. But looking for feedback, this is a new design for a modular handheld Wi-Fi Deauthor that you can make yourself that relies on very common components and is expandable because you can put a NeoPixel strip on it to make it into a Wi-Fi hacking game. There's lots of really cool stuff you can do with it. This is a prototype. We haven't proved it yet, and this is just an early concept. But if you're interested in this, please let us know because we're actively developing it. And if you want one, then also let me know because we're going to be releasing them around DEF CON, and we love getting feedback and hearing from the people who give us an idea on something we should do with it. We add that, and then they get a version of it and enjoy it. Like that's the best kind of feedback we can get.
It looks like a hacking Game Boy to me.
Yes, that is the intention. So with this PCB, you can slap together something that's really cool and interactive, and you can also add things like a battery extender. Like right now, it's just powered over USB, but if you wanted to, you can get a version that also takes a LiPo battery. So it's an all-in-one little device that you can make a 3D printed case for. And yeah, it just looks very snazzy. So I just have to say, working with Stefan on this has been super fun and keeping me sane during the latter part of the pandemic. And hopefully we'll be able to make a bunch of these for DEF CON and be able to show you guys what they're like. Yeah. All right. So let's move on. And I also want to point out some other good guides. I constantly refer back to Random Nerd Tutorials because they have such good documentation for all these features that are really, really useful. Why would I? All right. I don't know why it's going through Facebook, but sure.
That's weird. This is why you don't click on random links?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they're doing tracking through Facebook, but like I don't have a Facebook, so good luck. All right, so if you want to learn about how to use these little microcontrollers for things like what we've been teaching you, for example, using them to create the hackable router or any of the other stuff that we've shown off, then this is a great site to check out all of these features that are supported, but maybe not documented so well in the official documentation, or at least don't give you a practical example. I really like the way that Rui Sanchez shows off these examples of libraries or other things that allow you to add really cool functions to one of these little projects. So if you want to create something like, I don't know, like we often use them for targets, for CTFs and stuff like that, then you can go through some of these tutorials. This one in particular I thought was very useful. It allows you to send emails using an SMTP server just from one of these. So if you have a sensor, for example, that you want it at a certain point to send you an email, this code is basically all you need to write a blueprint and you can kind of just take the existing sample code and kind of like mesh it together and not even be that great of a programmer and still build something unique that maybe like sends you a notification like when you get a certain sensor value or you see a certain thing. So yeah, I really like this. And if you're looking for good tutorials, I often tell people, Nullbyte is a good place to check, but also I think Random Nerd Tutorials is probably one of my favorite go-to places to learn more about microcontrollers. Not all of this relates to information security, but if you're a maker, if you want to get into making stuff, then this is a way that you can, with a couple small modifications, take something that's already a really good working project and build something super fun and functional in a matter of hours. So definitely worth checking out, and this project in particular piqued my interest. So I also have a question for all of you. We've done a guide on setting up a hackable router with the ESP32, and we've also done a guide on taking an ESP8266 and making a FTP server that's just a honeypot. So if anybody tries to join it, it'll send you a notification, let you know, hey, someone's in your network messing around. There's actually a version of the software to create a honeypot or a hackable router for the ESP8266, which makes this like a $3 project. But I was thinking it would be really cool if I could mash the two together and try to make a hackable router that has a honeypot FTP server on it. I am not that good of a C++ programmer, and it's been a long time since I wrote anything in Arduino. But if you guys would be interested in something like this, basically like a Wi-Fi honeypot that would trick people into connecting and poking around and then send you a notification as soon as they do, all in one. That seems like a really cool project, and maybe something we could even add to this hardware thing that Stefan and I are working on.
Does the honeypot work on the 32 or is it 82 only?
It works on both.
Okay, I would definitely use it on the 32 because I would be afraid of it not having enough power to do everything all together on the 8266.
Well, we're going to test it, but I've seen pretty similar results. Like, I guess that's running a program that like is very, very efficient. The only limitation is it can't do more than, I think, like 8 simultaneous connections. So it can't have more than 8 devices connect to it. And of course, it's going to be slow, but it will work and provide data.
Right.
So we're going to test it, and then we'll probably do an additional follow-on episode on doing an ESP8266 and maybe brute forcing something over that network. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because these are such fragile, small little they're cool little microcontrollers. They're just small though, and they're so cheap. We got these ones for like $1.80 because we got them in bulk like a couple months ago
on
AliExpress. Yeah, we waited like months for them. But it's just really interesting to think that you can take these, and there's a couple additional things you can do with this router software. You can put them into auto mesh node, meaning I can turn on maybe 5 of these in a line, and only one of them might be able to access the internet, and it'll pass that internet connection along the entire chain. And if you were at the far end of that chain, you would be able to join the furthest network and connect to the internet through all 5 of them.
You mean they wirelessly connect together?
Yes, they create a mesh network.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so the details are kind of interesting as a nerd. So basically, each one of these will, if you put them in auto mesh mode, will automatically create an access point and then propagate it to the next network and propagate it to the next network. So they all agree on an SSID and set it to be the same thing, and they basically transparently forward packets along the chain until they get to whoever's requesting it.
I was going to say the network would be super slow, but you could easily like make a citywide network like that.
It would be horrible.
It would be the slowest network in existence, but it also would be very cheap.
So so looking 2 steps forward, I'm thinking it might be fun to do an episode on we have like 200 of these. So it might be fun to see how many of them we can actually get to mesh together.
Please no.
Yeah, I know, if we just flashed a whole bunch of them and let them all connect to each other and see what we could do with that. Yeah, it would be difficult to spread them all out because we don't have 200 batteries, but we do have 200 of them. We probably have like a fair amount of cables. So yeah, it would be interesting to see how many of these we could actually get to connect to each other and propagate data. So yeah, I'm really excited to see if the ESP8266 version of this works, because creating a NAT router that also does mesh networking with this little microcontroller seems like it would be really interesting for a variety of different things.
Oh no!
Yeah, I guess we'll have to switch over to your screen.
We lost your screen!
Yeah, so we've also, my new MacBook Pro designed to replace the one that would randomly crash, apparently also randomly crashes sometimes. So I have to restart the screen share in order to make it work. So that's fun, but it should be back. But yeah, so check out Random Nerd Tutorials. I will probably, if you guys want to see it, let me know, and we will do another episode on using an ESP8266, maybe to do mesh networking or something. And yeah, I really like doing these episodes on microcontrollers because they're super fun, they're super cheap, and if you fry the microcontroller, it's like $2 or $3 to get a new one. So like, don't even be sad.
And also,
as opposed to a Raspberry Pi, where like you wait for like a week for it to get there, and then like you plug it in, and then you do some like wacky stuff with it, and it just dies.
Well, and also the thing I like about them being so cheap is, I hesitate to say it encourages risky behavior, but you can like leave them outside and like do projects that you might be a little more hesitant to do normally with a more expensive router.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about some of the news. So this is something, Michael, maybe you can talk about a little bit. Did you read up on this? It was basically the package manager didn't check to see if certificates had been revoked, which is definitely a problem if that ever happens. But the caveat on this is it's never happened. So like, yeah, it seems like a problem, but in reality, this has actually never been necessary. So, you know, it's something that could be exploited theoretically, but so far was never designed to be part of that protocol and has to be kind of like patched in order to fix this. And again, they're taking a forward view on security and trying to make sure that this is secure, even though they've never had any issues of this sort. But if you want to read more up on this, you can check out the Linux RPM problems vulnerability that's on ZDNet. But yeah, so that's kind of just the high level. Like it is theoretically a problem, but it is not something that has happened.
Cool.
Thoughts, opinions?
Thoughts, comments, concerns?
I'm sorry. I know this one is very light on Bigfoot material.
Yeah, I know. It's just.
I will say that Bigfoot has been implicated as the person who first exploited this problem.
Oh.
It can be neither proven or disproven that he did it or that it ever happened.
I believe then the burden of proof falls on you.
Yeah. Prove he didn't.
Yeah, because that's how that works.
Okay. Have you heard about Print Nightmare?
Is that printer hack we were talking about on the Q&A?
No.
No, that's a different thing.
No. Oh, you mean Pretty?
Pretty, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not Pretty. Although buses can fly would be delighted to know that you remember that.
No, I just think it would be hilarious to pull it. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's not that.
Okay, so what is this then?
Okay, remote code execution via the print spooler service, which like a lot of people are joking this is the first thing that the print spooler service has ever been useful for.
Okay.
Because like nobody ever use it. But okay, so the story of this is that this was announced. It's a remote execution, very bad, through the print spooler, and they were like, okay, we need to fix this. So Microsoft went out and patched it, but the way they patched it was super funky. They basically patched like one way of exploiting this. They like blocked a path that's necessary for the exploit.
There's like 5 paths around it.
Well, no, but no. So it's like, think of it this way. There's like a big problem where if you connect to it, like it creates a big issue. And then there's like the path of least resistance. So, and somebody created a proof of concept that was literally just that. So then Microsoft is just like, all right, we'll just block that. But this is still here.
Okay, yeah.
So like somebody else was just like, oh, I'll just go up and over. And then somebody else was like, I'll just go under. And like the problem is still here. So like basically like they fixed this in a way that like slap some duct tape on it. And we were like, yeah. And then they didn't also fix it for domain controllers, which are really big and important and should be like probably the most defended. So when I first started doing security work, I had a really sketchy email address. It was like a .ru email address that had like I think some profanity in it, and I emailed somebody who worked at like a very prestigious like lab for cyber stuff for the U.S. government, and I with a technical question, and the dude was super nice to me and replied with like a bunch of like very useful like follow on links and information. I was like, wow, this dude's awesome. That is the person who's demonstrating this flaw. So Will Dorman is showing off here on Twitter that all you need to do is fix like a path that was blocked in order to trigger the exact same problem that Microsoft apparently just patched. So here you can see the CVE actually just barely needs to be modified in order to successfully exploit this. And yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, not good. So this is actually like, something that people are showing off as an active vulnerability that can still be exploited in several versions of Windows.
So this is exploit in Windows, not like a printer.
No, correct.
Okay.
This is in Windows 10 and standalone Windows 19. As well as domain controllers. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
So stay up to date on this. It's a developing situation. Like Will fired off this tweet, I think like today. July 1st. No, yesterday.
Yes.
So like this is as of yesterday. This was successful. So I imagine there might be
That's a little spooky.
Yeah, I imagine there might be maybe some more patches coming out about this. And then, okay, well, Microsoft is a big company. You would expect that like this sort of things happens. In a completely separate case, we have Microsoft digitally signing malicious rootkit drivers. So a researcher got a hit on this driver as being possibly malicious and started digging into it. And then after kind of reversing it a bit, was just like, wow, no, this is actually very malicious and looks like botnet behavior. So Microsoft was like, whoops, yes, okay, that was bad. Revoked the signature and then went on to like make a public disclosure about it, but the disclosure was weird. So the disclosure was basically saying that this was something people did, something that was done to like hack games or give people an advantage at, I don't know, like World of Tanks maybe. If you're like a big cheater and you love cheating at video games and don't feel anything, shameful about
remorse.
That. Yeah, no remorse. But anyway, if you were that kind of person, then this would maybe give you an advantage against other players and let you get digital currency or whatever. But that doesn't match up with the forensic description of what this malware did.
Yeah.
So like according to the researcher, this looked like it was like command and control and downgrading attacks. So it was like actually downgrading traffic security so that it was possible to intercept and read it, and then establishing a command and control server, which is not what Microsoft said it was doing. It said that it was allowing you to spoof geolocation so that you could unlock like stuff in games. So weird, right?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't exactly add up. So does this mean that's like they're covering for someone? Does it mean that like they aren't allowed to like actually disclose like who was doing it? Like there's a lot of there's like seriously though, like when you have a researcher like, here's what this malware does, and they can show you code, and Microsoft is like, don't worry, it was just teenagers cheating at video games. Like it kind of makes you wonder, like well, you draw your own conclusions. Like, like as a big company, like versus like a little researcher just doing their job, like they may not be able to say like who was behind it. Like if it was part of something larger or whatever, you never know. So, it just seems funky and weird. And anytime we see that, like we're just like, like I wonder what's going on here. So,
just so you're aware, the conversation has shifted to the bad Photoshop job of that keyboard on the laptop.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Warning: virus detected, and then everything's flat. It's oof. Okay. Let's get away from that. So if you want to see Microsoft's like weird response, you can check it out here. But all in all, it was just a very curious stream of events that are making people a little bit suspicious. So we'll see what happens. I imagine there will be more updates on this, but a lot of news for Microsoft this week. It was kind of interesting to see these two things that were actually completely separate and like not related, both within the same week.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so Michael's a big fan of LinkedIn, right?
No.
Really?
I mean, well, I don't use it a lot, but I know it's a great, powerful, and mighty tool.
Yeah, so some of our current people
Yeah.
are watching on LinkedIn. Well, yeah, so if you have a LinkedIn account, it's very likely that your information has been sold.
Oh,
So
no.
this is information you use to register your account, and it's not like your password or
Okay.
anything like that. It is just
But
stuff
like
that was,
OSINT information.
yeah, it was stuff that's scraped from the API. So
Hmm.
like basically, if you created like a detailed like bibliography of yourself, you can assume that it has been scraped into a database and is now being sold. So if someone were to contact you with an intimate knowledge of your work history all of a sudden, like guess what? That's probably because they bought the data and they're trying to social engineer you into a scam. So for people like fake IRS scammers, this is
Right.
just a gift. Because now they have a database of people they can contact, probably with their phone numbers or other personally identifiable information that allows them to get in touch with you and pretend that there's somebody that either works with one of the businesses you've worked with before, or has some sort of relationship to a tax entity. It's really good for scammers to go after people who might not know any better. So don't be one of those people. Just know that there's another database of people's information out there, and if you put information into LinkedIn, then you might expect it to be used against you at some point.
Yeah, I would also be concerned if I were like a government contractor or someone like that, because I could see like scammers or hackers social engineering being like, oh, I'm here for like your annual security clearance check or whatever, and contacting people that work at certain agencies or something like that, and maybe so that's definitely some sketchy information to have out there.
Yeah, so it's speculated that this is this latest breach is an enriched version of previous breaches. So there's already a lot of LinkedIn data that's been put out there, and it looks like they've scraped additional data, added it, maybe just like otherwise like added more data to this original breach. So it's not entirely all new data that's been added to it, but it is a large LinkedIn breach that is now for sale.
And so was it was like, when you say breach, did they actually like compromise something, or did they just like scrape data?
They scrape data
Okay.
through an API that let them scrape a lot of data.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. So then this is something we talked about last week, but things have escalated. So did you hear about about what happened with my book?
Yeah, we discussed that they were being able to be remotely compromised. Yeah. But I haven't heard
Wiped.
much since.
Remotely wiped.
Yeah, sorry. Like, delete everything.
Yeah, so it turns out that it was a little bit more complicated than that. So instead, there was somebody who was exploiting the device's ability to become basically part of a botnet. So they put some sort of malicious binary on the device, had it do something, they don't know what it was, for a certain period of time, and then when they were done doing that, they wiped it to cover their tracks.
Oh, that's even spookier.
Yeah, so they still do not know like what this device takeover did. The fact that it erased itself after suggests that the threat actor like really didn't want people to know like what was being used. But because these could be used as relays for VPN traffic or as part of a giant botnet, it's likely this was used as part of basically as infrastructure for part of a larger operation of some sort. So interesting clues here, and I'm sure the incident response people over at my book are having a fantastic time figuring out what went like wrong.
Well,
with this
like,
product.
where would you even begin if all the data's been wiped? Like, that would be a daunting process.
Network logs, like you just have to find examples that were in environments that were logging their traffic, or like otherwise try to like dig into whatever sort of loggings there, do a forensic investigation, see if you can recover like any of the data that was wiped. And it also depends on how they wiped the data and what the medium was for it.
And how many times they wrote over the data.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's going to be tricky and spooky and confusing, but it's just another example of how if you have an internet-facing device that has some sort of vulnerability, like in this case, it might even have been that these devices were like configured to a vulnerable server that Western Digital had up, and then if they had some sort of maintenance server that allowed them to push commands to a bunch of devices and exploit them, then you have a ready-made botnet through a kind of man-in-the-middle attack of a vulnerable server. So there's lots of different ways they could have connected to these devices which might not even have been directly exposed to the internet. And this is just one reason why you need to be really careful with IoT devices, because if these were connected to a network that has another device on it that's vulnerable, there's ways that some of these worms can propagate, and you might have your entire network be infected. So
yeah, I think that's a really big concern, because I think a lot of people think when they segment their network and stuff that, oh, it's not online, it's immune to hacks, no one can hack this. It's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, you never know. And this is, again, we still don't know a lot of details about this. It's ongoing. What we know now is just that this was the wiping was a cover-up for some other sort of malicious binary to do its thing. It's kind of assumed that it was doing botnet style behavior. But again, that could have acted as like something to relay super sketchy, VPN commands or something like that, or provided infrastructure to a criminal network. So who knows? But either way, very sketchy, and just sucks for those people that had petabytes of data that was just wiped as part of this operation. Yeah, and I guess Western Digital has now removed the code.
Oh, of course, because it's exactly. Oh yeah, the malicious code. You mean?
No. They removed the code that would have prevented the wiping of this data, like before it was wiped. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So some people are continuing. Okay, let me back up. 2FA is good, but some types of 2FA are better than others. Why is that so? Well, let's say that I wanted to inject something into a 2FA message. Well, there's a perfect opportunity to do that, because apparently carriers have the ability to inject advertisements into 2FA messages that are sent via SMS. So
wait, what?
Yeah. So
wait, so like, if I were on Verizon or whoever, they could just inject any information they want to in any text I receive.
Yeah, so here's an example of what it looked like. SMS ad, keep the hackers at bay, get a VPN today, and then some like random VPN.
Wow.
So yeah, it looks like other people have gotten this too, and what it is the carrier recognizing an incoming message and injecting into it. Now, I almost exclusively use Signal for most of my stuff, so my carrier can't inject stuff into my messages because they can't read it.
Well, that also implies that they're actually reading each message you receive.
What do you mean reading?
Well, or like some program is
like there's no lady with like a
right, but there's some program taking each text you're receiving, analyzing it in some way, and determining, oh, this is something I want to put an ad in front of.
Yeah.
So that's big brothery.
Well, I mean, it's just like when I tell people to use Signal, and they're just like, well, I don't care if the phone company knows what I'm doing. It's like, well, what if they're analyzing the absolute crap out of it?
Right.
Like what if they're doing sentiment analysis on every text you send and sending that information to people who are targeting depressed people? Does any of that bother you? So this is just an example of how, in particular, this type of verification for 2FA is vulnerable to being modified in transit. So if you want to use good 2FA, use a hardware token, which I believe our good friend Zam may be schooling us on in the near future. Because physical tokens are absolutely the best way to lock down your devices, provided you have enough of them to make sure you never get locked out. Second to that, using your phone as a token is also perfectly acceptable, because it means that, provided you have access to your phone, you'll be able to get into your devices as well. Using SMS is increasingly warned against, and I have to kind of join in and say that is not the best way to do 2FA. So yeah, this is just one of the reasons why 2FA is not a great idea. The other being that somebody could potentially do a SIM swapping attack, contact your carrier, switch over your number, and get your 2FA codes before you even realize it, because it's often done in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and that's something I've reflected on before too, because a lot of people make their security questions very OSINT to bull. Sort of questions like where'd you go to middle school, or where'd you go to high school, stuff like that. And with the LinkedIn data breach, that combining that information with other information, you'd be able to get all that, perform a SIM swap attack, on some high-level people and companies, because they're high-level people because of the LinkedIn data breach.
Yeah, and the worst thing is like bank accounts and other sorts of big important accounts will be like, all right, let's set your security questions. Like, what is your favorite pet's name? It was like, you mean the one that I constantly post about on social media?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? So and sometimes it will only give you options that are super obvious. So what I'll do is I'll open up my password manager and just generate a bunch of random passwords as the response to each one, and it's annoying. But once I save them in there, then the password manager remembers them. It's just like, the actual answers are so stupid and easy to find that I literally, when I'm given a list of 6 questions and all of them are bad, I'm like, well, I guess I'm just using a really long random string. So, yeah. All right. Hey, guess what? There's a new Bash Bunny.
Oh, hey, that's cool.
Name one thing about it.
It bashes bunnies. It's the second generation.
Are you proud of that?
I am proud of that. No, it's the second generation. I think you would be able to better speak to its power than I would.
You don't know anything about the Bash Bunny, do you?
It came out yesterday, and I've been a very busy person.
Right. All right, so this is the Bash Bunny Mark II. You can check it out. I believe it is now purchasable from Hack5. And damn, we need to buy one before they sell out because there's not that many of them.
Yeah.
They might already be sold out. But you can check it out here. One of the primary things I like about it is that it has a Bluetooth trigger, so you can actually decide when it goes off remotely, which is really cool. So, let's see. I actually want to see if they are.
Doesn't look sold out.
Yeah. I can still buy it. I'm gonna add it to cart. I'm gonna buy this. But yeah, so the Bash Bunny is awesome, especially the Mark II. Definitely check it out. The launch was literally yesterday, and they're going to sell out pretty quickly. So if you want to grab one, we're going to be doing a video on it in the near future because at the end of this, I am going to buy this Bash Bunny. All right. Ah! Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Wow.
That's
I even
great...
got $5 off. Yeah. So yeah, as you see, there's even a code going on with the launch. So yeah, if you want to grab one, now's a great time because they're $5
I love that
off.
imagery.
Right? It actually scared me. I was not expecting it, and it swung its hammer down.
You could say you got bunny bashed. I'm sorry. I'll stop.
I don't get it. All right. So let's go over to another ESP hacking tool. So I like Hackaday. They're great. Sometimes these articles, I read them, and I'm just like, there's no possible way that would ever be useful. This was not one of those. This is actually super, super cool. It's a ESP32 SWD flasher. So what this allows you to do is flash other devices, like these little watches, like the Pine Time watch, with an ESP32. This is so cool. I know that currently Stefan is really interested in these ESP32 based smartwatches because they're really slick. Like they actually look like the kind of smartwatch you would want to wear and not like some Frankenstein monstrosity. So the fact that you can use an ESP32 to flash them is really kind of like the best case scenario if you're not going to be able to just plug them in and make them work immediately. So I think this is awesome. You should definitely check it out. And there's a full video explaining how to do this and how it works. And I just love it when hackers make things more accessible and easier for other people to use. Yeah. I don't have one of these ESP32 based watches, but Stefan has been telling me about how cool they are and how he really wants to get into using them. So I would love to start using a modified ESP32 watch, provided I can flash it easily, and it looks like it just became a little bit easier.
I thought we had a Deauthor watch around here.
Yeah, we don't rep those anymore. So yeah,
gotcha.
Now we're all about the little Game Boy one. That's our new one. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about TikTok and making hacker content on TikTok. So my 2 YouTube channels do pretty well. The Hack5 channel has 700-some thousand subscribers. The Nullbyte channel, which I started personally, has over 750,000 subscribers, I think. So they're doing pretty well. But on TikTok, we really have to make it super short. And also people are just bored and depressed and scrolling. So they don't want to learn how to do something. They want to be entertained.
Right.
So we've tried a bunch of different things, and we've had a varying amount of success. As we've gone and tried stuff, we've done the hacker soldering bag, which I think was our previous best video, where we just showed off the stuff I carry around in my bag and showed off the soldering kit, made some recommendations. We also cut up some of our episodes. So some of the stuff we did on Hack5, we also did here. So how to detect someone hacking your Wi-Fi has 22,000. So we're all right, we're doing pretty well. So then I decided to anonymously roast businesses, or semi-anonymously roast businesses, which I disclosed vulnerabilities to years ago, a long time ago, and basically explain how I would hack them if I was a malicious hacker and what would happen. Like basically rate how bad it would be. This was just supposed to be, you know, fun because like
educational.
Because you interact with all these businesses too, and it's kind of like
Right.
Mythbusters for like you know, a business. It's kind of like the reverse version of where like, you know, an expert comes in and makes your business nice.
Well-
It's like describing how they would destroy your business.
Well, you have to understand how you're vulnerable before you can even begin to address the issues, right?
Yeah, so so I posted this video about the problems my dentist office has, and the problems are like you can like fax anybody that they do business with through their printer, which is available on the guest network. They have like a file share available with patient data, which I could just download if I really wanted to, or ransomware. And this video did pretty well. But then when my second video talking about a Dunkin' Donuts with too many security cameras that anybody could see through kind of took off and got 200,000 views, this video got flagged for bullying and harassment. So I guess by, again, anonymously, I never identified this dentist office. By anonymously roasting this dentist, it was seen as harassment. Really though, like as a content creator on TikTok, like I now see that if somebody doesn't like you, they can just automatically flag your video for this, and it'll take it down for an extended period of time and prevent the algorithm from showing it to other people. So it's actually kind of just like a harassment technique, which is super lame, and actually like it seems to work pretty well. But it's just funny to think that like this is actually harassing or bullying anyone, because it's just like a business that like, you know, nobody knows who it actually is. But then my favorite reply to this, was, it's harassment because you leaked their IPs. But these are private IP addresses on your local network. So it's like the IP address that your router gives to your device. So like it could be like any one of like millions of different networks. So I never showed their like public IP address. It was just very funny that like some people that like did not understand how IP, and then someone was just like, what a coincidence. My IP range is also 10.0.0.0.24.
Yeah. No. It does make me wonder if you could make like a script that uses the TikTok API and like 5 accounts to just systematically go through and report every video on the platform.
Probably. And wait, on the platform? No, because you get rate limited per account.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, is if they have to institute some kind of rate limit on the
but if you have like 10 alternative accounts, like you can use those 10 accounts to mass like report a video that you don't like and have it automatically flagged for the period where normally the algorithm would work really hard to promote it. So like the only good thing about TikTok really is the way the algorithm promotes it. It like does like it's so brilliant. It basically uses like a small sample pool and like figures out from that sample pool that automatically gets forced to see your video, like who it goes to next, and then it improves that sample pool over time until it has it dialed in just after a couple. Basically they recruit everyone and have them act as like a test audience for new content. So as you're scrolling, you'll get like one piece of garbage just like every like 10 scrolls or so, because it's testing it to see, do people like you like it after you know, some algorithm decides who to start with. So it's just a very smart system for delivering it to the right people, but it's also able to be abused in a number of different ways. So like some other content creators on TikTok with a lot more like likes and views and followers than I have also reported they have the same thing, is their content's taken down for stuff all the time. But then we had our video where we were teaching about macros and the computer explodes. It's just like ridiculous. Taken down for like illegal practices. So somebody reported it as like actual hacking, and the algorithm was just like, people shouldn't know how to do this, but we literally have a dummy and like a dummy computer exploding with fireworks. So like, I mean, I guess I just revealed the secret. Like the cat's out of the bag. That's how you do that. But it's just funny to constantly be censored by this dumb algorithm that keeps getting tricked in various ways to either like promote my stuff or like shut it down super hard. So I don't know how long it's going to be until this video also gets censored. Right now it's at 238,000 views in 2 days. It's the one that you've never seen. But yeah, so like it's been a trip because I doubled my followers. I'm gonna have more followers on TikTok than I do on Twitter, and I've had Twitter for like 3 years.
Wow.
So it's weird how content gets propagated and censored on this algorithm, because once you hit a certain level, it seems to like stop people from reporting you as much, because the video is just considered to be like something that's doing well for TikTok, so they don't want to mess that up. They're like, this is good content, we want to show it to a bunch of people. So in that early stage of like maybe 5,000 views or so is where you're really vulnerable, and people can mass report your content and get it taken down.
Well, I wonder if they have some kind of algorithm that it's like a certain percentage of viewers need to report it or something, because that would help prevent the
Maybe.
kinds of attacks that you described.
Yeah, who knows? It's a black box. But yeah, so while I was discussing this, one of our, somebody who followed me on Twitter pointed out a networking situation from like my nightmares. One time I had to use the restroom while waiting for an appointment at my doctor, and they had their entire network in an unlocked cabinet above the toilet.
Okay, that's like, I'm sorry. I mean, no disrespect, but that is an invitation to get hacked.
Yeah, you're also like one clogged toilet away from a total network failure, was my
Yeah.
reply to this. And it's just like I wish that I could say you were making that up, but I've seen similar situations in so many. Like there was a big co-working space that lots of businesses relied on that had their entire networking situation encased in like this like really thin like little cage over by the printer, which was an unmonitored area that nobody was ever in. It was like totally isolated, and there was a tiny little luggage lock on it. Like a TSA luggage lock that like anybody could get the TSA key or just take your own key and open it.
You can like literally 3D print the TSA key because it's like
you could take like a bobby pin and open that lock because like it's just the cheapest possible lock you can get. So like I've seen situations like this many times. So I think that might be why this series is striking a chord with people is because like they've been to these businesses, they've been to their doctors, they've been to whatever, and they've just seen something and they're like, well, that's not right. But they felt like they didn't know enough to speak up. So yeah, we'll see if this content gets taken down too, but it's been really funny trying to make TikTok content. And then the one that ended up really taking off was like us roasting a coffee shop. That was it.
I think that let's just say the general public might enjoy those kinds of things a little more because like it might be a little more entertaining.
Well, because it's businesses you interact with.
Right.
Like that's what I'm trying to do. Is like it's not like my private life as a hacker. It's just like, hey, like you go to this business every day. Did you know that like they don't care about this? Like it kind of affects you. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of fun. So another thing to check out this week is no, don't play on Twitter. Is my first Hack Bite, which is our new series with Hack 5, which is strikingly kind of sort of, I guess someone might say, a little bit similar to Nullbyte, which isn't produced anymore, on Hack 5. So this is my first episode where I'm just straight up teaching how to do something in like 10 minutes or so. The rest of them have been like teaching about like more broad concepts. So if you want to see some more tutorial style content, we haven't heard from James in a month. So I went ahead and did this, and I'll be doing a bunch more until we find out if he survived going to Ukraine. But until then, like we got to do it. So expect to see myself and Michael on the Hack 5 channel doing Hackbite episodes over the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
Yeah. Michael's particularly excited about this.
I love producing those hack bites as the host.
Yeah, and also, if you are that one guy that's downloaded this video that we just uploaded today, out of the 289 people that uploaded it, find me at DEF CON. We'll discuss it.
Yes.
You don't. What do you not like about this? This is a clean, short video.
I was gonna say, if we want to talk about new content, and you're gonna put me on the fence, as it were.
Yeah, sure.
I will hold up.
Oh yeah, please do.
I am producing a new series on the Veronis blog, Last Week in Ransomware. Comes out every Monday. It's pretty short. It's just a bunch of links to news articles from the week. I try to find some GitHub tools that people might find interesting that are ransomware related. And then I also just give everyone a friendly reminder of all the security conferences coming up in case they want to go attend and get more well educated about ransomware and how all that works.
Good to see Michael with his day job writing about something other than in his personal journals about Bigfoot.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
I gotta keep a very intimate log of where Bigfoot has been cited because you gotta correlate and weed out the fake sightings so you can really go have a nice conversation with him. He's a really nice guy.
Somebody in our chat said they got a $2,000 bounty. Tell us how you did that so we can tell other people how to do that too. But yeah, if any of you have any suggestions for our TikTok series on like how I would hack businesses that we interact with every day. I usually have examples of businesses that have done things the wrong way. Everything from the grocery store to the doctor's office to a co-working space, as I just mentioned. So yeah, if you have any suggestions for businesses you would like me to cover, please just don't say your student loans.
Oh, yeah. Okay, and
Let's
then I
see.
think we had one more thing from Twitter.
Oh, yeah. So if you guys are dealing with depression or isolation from the pandemic, or just need a little pick-me-up, my new favorite Twitter account is StyleGAN Generated Cats. So this is an algorithm that is basically, it's a competition between a generator and a discriminator. The generator attempts to like feel out what a cat picture feels like and create a cat picture from scratch, and the discriminator tries to determine from real examples of cat pictures whether or not this generated image is a genuine cat or if it's a fake. And any images that survive that game between the two, where it tricks the discriminator into thinking, oh, this is a cat, end up on this Twitter. So the resulting cat images are like technically are cats, but like barely qualify in many cases. They're more like the idea of a cat than an actual cat at all. But this is just an example of how like neural networks and like generative networks are able to start learning about different types of content. You can also see memes have made it into the algorithm. So this is a visibly grumpy cat. Like you can tell that it's trying to form the idea of a grumpy cat meme, but it's just total nonsense.
It is very inspiring, though, and like you can tell that they're going in the right direction, though. Like, just imagine how far these will be able to go in another couple of years.
Oh my gosh, that one's horrifying. So I have to say, whoa, this cat is ready to fight you. He's got his
like,
dukes
come
up.
at me, bro.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So this is what I frequently do. When I'm depressed, is look at these StyleGAN generated non-cats. This one's frozen in carbonite. But these cats are just like disturbing and strange, and after a while it kind of starts to give you a headache.
Hold on.
But I have to say, the worst thing about these is when it tries to generate a human. So it'll take cat photos from the internet, and occasionally it'll try to create like an image that has a human in it as well. But because the discriminator isn't trying to like find a human, it always messes them up in horrifying ways. So let me go just to the first example I've seen up here. You can see this clearly does not pass the vibe check for like a human. Like the cat, we're doing pretty good, but the human, no. So if you want to know the current state of how AIs or like neural networks are able to generate things or create deepfake or that sort of thing, this is obviously a little bit off the beaten path from that, but it still is a really interesting experiment where you can just see. just see things that the AI is just like, yes, this is a cat. Like, you've nailed it. Like, great job. But to a human, you can still tell that there's like a lot of things wrong. There's a lot of things still wrong with this. So this is this is firmly in the center of the uncanny valley. So if you like hanging out in that space, then I think that you'll find some ones in here that like, your brain tries to tell you it's a cat, but your eyes clearly are like, this is not a cat.
Yeah.
All right, so last up, it is no longer Zam's birthday, which is very sad. However, if you have any suggestions for using a Raspberry Pi Compute Module 4, these are super cool. I do not have one yet, but Zam does. So it would be great to find some interesting uses for this. So we are open to suggestions on that. But I think that's pretty much everything we have for today. This was a lot of stuff, and amazing considering we didn't talk about Bigfoot once.
Yeah.
So, Michael, I know Michael prepared a lot for this presentation we didn't even get to discuss. But yeah. Cool. Well, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to check out our other shows, make sure to check out the Security Forward channel, which you can find at hackingwithfriends.com. You can also check out some other great Varonis content from our sometimes co-host Killian on the Threat Update channel on the Varonis brand channel, where you can find out how big businesses are reacting to cybersecurity threats right now. And then, of course, you can also find some of Michael's new content on the Varonis blog, huh?
Yeah. Last Week in Ransomware, it comes out every Monday. And yes, we'll be at Black Hat and DEF CON.
Yeah, we're coming to Black Hat and DEF CON, but don't rush us because, we don't want to get sick.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah,
say.
but you
It
can
might
say
be
hi.
mask and stuff.
Yeah. So we will probably be at those conferences. We're going to be doing, I think, maybe like a game at Black Hat, and then we're probably going to be doing something. Find us someone that wants us to do a workshop at DEF CON, and we'll do it. We're going to try to talk to one of the villages and see if we can do it in person or a hybrid virtual event at DEF CON. So yeah, hopefully we'll see some of you guys there. Maybe if it's a hybrid event, then hopefully we'll see some of you online as well. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.